you have any questions?
That's it.
Yesterday you mentioned, I think if I followed closely, so Hashem said, let us make man. Okay, so the question is, who is he speaking to? Is he speaking to the animals? Is he speaking to the angels? Or, I think Rabbi Tursky and let us make man, and he says, he's talking to the souls, who he said, if you feel you're going to be able to follow my laws and everything, I'll make you above the animals, then I'll create a good for you. So, you can, all three are correct, or is there one recognized answer in terms of who is he addressing?
Many ways one can interpret these words, but the comment which see what Rashi says, which one Rashi bring it. I don't want to what Trotsky explains it how. What's what Trotsky explained that?
Okay, so the three possibilities. One would be...
He says there's three possibilities.
Well, no, I mean, that's how I look at it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying, I don't know what it really... Okay, the three that I can think of. One is the angels. One is the animals that he created, or all the things that he created, and three would be the potential souls of man.
Various aspects. Rashi says, Nase Adam, Abar Pi Shelo Siyu B'Tzirato. Although other beings did not really help in the creation of man, it was Hashem himself. Yesh makom leminem radot. Oh no, please, I'm sorry. Start from the beginning. Rashi says, Nase Adam. I'll say it straight in English. The humility of the Holy and Blessed be He we can learn from here. So Rashi's first interpretation is that whatever we're told about God in the Tanakh is not so much about His essence, which is beyond our understanding, but the way in which He relates to human beings and what He wants us to be given the Torah to learn from Him. So therefore he particularly used this expression here to teach us that to come near to Hashem means to be humble. Why? Because the human being is really in the image of the angels, and therefore they were really jealous of him. Therefore, in order to appease them, he consulted with them. Didn't make decisions for himself, made them do the angels together. Also, when he judges the kings of the world, he doesn't do it himself, he does it with his divine family, as we find in the case of Achav. When Micha said to him, I see Hashem sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven, they stand on his right and his left side. So the question is there a right and left side to Hashem? But it means there are some angels who defend the one who's accused, and there's others who are prosecutors. And there are many phrases like this, also in the vision of Daniel, that questions are decided by the angelic group surrounding Hashem. Also here, Hashem consulted with his heavenly family, and he asked them for permission to go and create the human being. And that's Gemara says, are there any powers above that like unto me? So he says, there are some angels who have a certain similarity with me. Therefore, if I don't create someone similar to me in the lower worlds, then there's an imbalance and jealousy in the work of creation. So this is the first interpretation, which has its sources in the Gemara and the Midrash. The question is, what do all these phrases mean to us? So, I think to mention in more regular language that we understand today, we speak about angels. What the word malach means a messenger. And speak of heavenly angels. We refer to them also in our daily prayers, perhaps that we can understand more easily, when we speak about them with other names. We say, Afanim, B'chayot HaKodesh, B'serafim, refer to them as wheels. Afanim are wheels. That means powers that work in a circular fashion, motion, and Chayot are life powers, and Serafim are electromagnetic powers. Today, the running of the world is understood by scientists not on the superficial level, we already mentioned yesterday. It's understood that there are forces. I'll give you a practical example. I mean, this concept of the angels is described in many books of prophecy, especially in Hezkel. Speaks of the four basic powers of the divine chariot. And philosophically, it is already explained by the Rambam as being a reference to energies, basic energies. So modern sciences to say the whole of the universe is based upon four basic forces. One is called the weak nuclear force, the other is called the strong nuclear force, the other one is the power of motion, mass, and the other is called the electromagnetic powers. With there's even been found equals, MC squared really means there's a relationship between the electromagnetic forces that lie behind the whole of nature, together with the forces of density and movement, which are the two other forces. So it's very interesting that, let's say, I mentioned word yesterday with that same basic thinker of science says, you know, there are four basic forces. We're trying to find the great universal principle that unites them all. So I said to him, I said at the time, Professor Thomas, a close friend and so on, he knew that he was very closely associated with Steve Hawkins. So I said, perhaps you should write to him, I think perhaps he even did, to describe to him that we have the four great universal forces. The four forces are combined by the power of God, as is described in all our traditions. So look, it's quite possible to take these concepts forward in the Midrashim, which are ultimately based on what it says in the Tanakh concerning power of prophecy. When you can explain it in imaginary ways, you can explain in esoteric, mystical ways, but perhaps the easiest for us, we live in the scientific age, to describe it in scientific ways, because there is a scientific basis to this. In other malachim, the malach means a messenger, also a human messenger. We speak about the divine, we say it's really reflected in Maaseh Bereshis, where it says, melacha. The work of creation is melacha. What melacha mean? Melacha means the whole of the universe is a message from Hashem to man. And whatever through the first Hashem created forces, and from those forces he decided this universe which I'm creating must have a human being. And he incorporated all the forces that he already created, he became his messengers, to participate in the creation of man. If you want to go further in modern science, today the scientists, this is really one of the most amazing developments in the thinking process of scientists, they say we live in the anthropic universe. What does anthropic mean? The whole of the universe, they say, is somehow geared to the production of the human being. The human being is the smallest speck in the world. Yeah, especially people feel that today when we have such advanced space research. So what is a human being? He's almost an invisible, small bacteria in the vast expanse of the universe, with all the different. But there's come to an agreement, with scientists, there's no way we can explain the universe unless we understand that it's all intended to produce the human being. Because the human being is the only being, with those very tiny, is the only being who has an understanding of what's going on behind the universe. And it's able to also use his mind to explore the total universe. This is expressed so beautifully in the 8th chapter of Tehillim, when David HaMelech says, when I see your great universe, why do you want to take notice of this speck of creation called the human being? It's nothing at all. There's nothing. Nevertheless, there's nothing. But nevertheless, you've appointed him to be able to understand and give direction to the universe. And who can give praise to God? Who can understand it? The human mind. And the human mind is a product of the total universe. So I would say that is the deeper way of understanding this verse. When Hashem, why is Hashem Nase? He said, I'm taking together all the forces of the 6 days of creation. And we explained it yesterday why this verse is put in the same day, that means the same period, whether you call it a day, whether you call it a billion years, makes no difference. That's another question. What is time? But in any case, the day, when it's mentioned 6 days, this is a basic principle already shown how it's described in the Chumash, in the 10 Commandments. It doesn't say God created the world in 6 days. Huh? What does it say? We make Kiddush. We quote that.
7 days.
No. It says because Hashem created the world, Ki sheishes yamim asa Hashem et hashamayim et haaretz. It says 6 days Hashem created heaven and earth. It does not say in 6 days. Why not? It should be in 6 days. God created the world in 6 days, yes? No, it doesn't say in 6 days. Hashem created the heaven and the earth 6 days. So what does that mean? It means there are 6. Even the sages say, in the eyes of God, 1,000 years is 1 day, and 1,000,000 days can be 1 day. The days are a measurement of the different grades of creation. And that's why the vast majority of those who want to explain the deeper meaning, but with the Jewish tradition, they say it could have been billions of years each day. The question, so therefore, it said that the 6th day is taken together, the world of the mammals together with human being. Yeah? Which gives rise, it also explains, there's certainly many common factors, as we discovered, between especially the world of the mammals and the human being. So, what's the point of putting them together if they're so different? And it's clear, it's mentioned they're different. Adam is something different than animal. It's to distinguish him from the behemoth. So, why to put together? So we explained it yesterday already, to put it briefly, but the human being can become the most angelic human being, the highest level, closest to Hashem, Bidmut Elohim, Bidmutenu, he becomes like unto God, godlike, but he can also become the most beastly animal in the world. And it's up to his freedom of choice. He can choose, it's up to him to choose. And that's different to animals. Animals can't choose. So I think this is the best interpretation when we give this Nasa Adam. And Rashi always emphasizes the more, let's say, the important lesson to learn from it. The moral lesson, if you want to become godlike, we've also got in our lives to always take in consideration our fellow living beings on this planet. I would not just think I'm here just for myself. If you're going to be like that, you become the worst animal. I'm here in order, in truth, it goes deeper, according to this interpretation. Not just, I've got to consider my fellow men. That's obvious. Human societies have got to consider one another. Otherwise they can't become God-like. That's obvious. But we've got to consider the world around us, not to destroy it. What to do with Katayam, as we described yesterday, means the human being can destroy not just human society, he can destroy the animal world and the vegetable world and even the mineral world. And that's the great danger that exists today. The ecological aspect of the world is also terrible, and it's partly because human greed has taken over the abuse of this planet and all the beautiful things that God created in order they should be in this world like a Gan Eden. The world could be a Gan Eden. It could. That's where this Gehinnom, a Gan Eden depends on us, this world. That's the situation. That's why we have, Gehinnom. What do you know? What's the source of the word Gehinnom? Do you know? Where's it come from, Gehinnom? Gehinnom is the valley of Hinnom. What's special about the valley of Hinnom?
It's a gay.
Do you know where it is?
Yes.
Where?
By Mount Zion.
Just next to Mount Zion, close to Mount Zion, so we build the Beit HaMikdash. Hamoria is also close. Right next to these great mountains, there is a deep valley. Yep. So that valley is called Gei Behinnom. In ancient times, what was it used for? Moloch worship. Where do we find? We find today Moloch worship is being restored, unfortunately. It's terrible.
Moloch worship?
Yes.
There are children.
Today there is Moloch worship.
Yeah. Where?
It's
called
suicide bombers.
And also human shields.
Human shields. To go and sacrifice children for the sake of a lifestyle based upon hatred. Hatred of other human beings. On that basis, you think the greatest achievement is mothers are very happy and make a huge celebration if the young teenager has become a shaheed, a human sacrifice. For what? To spread murder in the world. Those who produced 9/11 killed themselves. Courageous youngsters go straight into their distortion of the Quranic paradise. That's the highest level. And this is the Moloch worship, which is mentioned in the Chumash in the time when Am Yisrael had to overcome all the terrible corruptions of the Canaanites, who also followed such cruel and destructive patterns of life. The worst one's Moloch worship. There was a huge idol there. It had a big mouth, which was a fiery furnace, into which they threw their children to sacrifice the idol. So we have a different form of it today. That's it. So, so this is
when they did the worship.
no. I want to In fact, I'll take this question right directly. I only had a faint pen. I want you to look at this phrase, Adam Behema. And in this verse, where it says, V'yirdu mitgat hayam, it says in the Jerusalem Bible, at the bottom of the first page, in the Bible it says, they should rule, give direction on all the animals in the whole earth. Now that man is there to produce the Gan Eden. It's always described afterwards. But it's described after the Gan Eden. It's also a premonition of what this globe can do. For good, unfortunately also for evil. All depends on choice. And the essential distinction between man and the animal, man has to be the ruler because he's got kidmutain, he's got freedom. He should use his divine soul, intelligence, to give direction to his physicality. And if he doesn't, he can't stand still. In fact, they say, what is the analysis, I'm following the moral, of the word behema? It's made up, generally speaking, Hebrew words, as was mentioned already, the two basic letters. So here, behema is made of his behema is ba, mo. That means mo is mahut. Mo means essence. What is it? But ma. But as ma is asking, what does it mean? What is it? What's its essence? So Hebrew have today the developed mahut. One of the essence, it's called mahut, making of this preposition ma, making of a noun, it means the essence of something. Ma. So what is the essence of the animal? Bo. It's got it in himself. That means an animal, when it's born, because the sages already say, sure, an ox is a fully developed bull or ox. But even when he's born, it's called shor ki valed. As soon as he's born, it's an ox. We're true, when we divide it, we say, well, it's a calf first, a very young calf, and then it grows up to become an ox. But basically, it doesn't need much development. Whatever functions the ox can activate, exists close to birth. It's made with a function to be the type of animal that remains all his life. An ox can't become a saint, it can't become a sinner. We know the ox is not basically, it's not carnivorous, it's not going to eat other animals, it eats only vegetables, but it's got in it plenty of power of activity. And really can start using its limbs almost after it's born, it can use all its limbs. The opposite of the human being, when the human being is born, completely helpless, can't do anything, can't even get its own food, can't do nothing at all, can only shout and scream. Yeah? That's what the baby can do. And can't get its food. It's got to have others to help it to survive. Your baby, a calf is left alone, it'll manage. And all the animals are the same. They have their function right away. Boma. You want to know what it is? It's all there. It cannot develop. But Adam, so here are the two interpretations given. It's on a similar manner. Why? Some say the word Adam, what's it mean? We have the word Adama, which means the earth. And in fact, this is Hashem, Vayitz Hashem Rekim, et Adam afar min Adama. He was dust from the minerals taken from the earth. In other words, the human being is really just like the earth. So that's nothing. So therefore some say that the human being's got a choice. Quite right. He's got a choice. If he's only going to follow his material self, which is a chemical and biochemical basis, instead of that the totality of man, then in truth he'll become worse than the beast. If on the other hand follows the neshama, in other words, the word Adam, its root lies in Adama, but you can also take its root as being Aleph, which is the essence of the individual, and the basic root is Dalet Mem, which means Dama, to be similar to. Bidmut Elokim, as is implied from the verse, Bidmutenu, that he's got a divine image. So you can either choose, are you going to be worse than the dust of the earth? And the only way we can describe Nazi criminals, worse than, they said all Jews are scum of the earth. So the truth is they're the most poisonous and evil minerals that you can imagine, and certainly evil poisons, with all the death that spread in the world. So that's what you do to human beings, to reduce them to ashes. There'll be nothing like ashes. On the other hand, you've got the choice to turn it the other way and use all material powers that you're given, mineral, chemical, vegetable, whatever they are, animalistic instincts. You can use them all to make sure that you control them in such a manner that you bring Gan Eden into this world. So it's the choice given to human beings. So that's one way. But the Maharal goes a bit deeper. It's not so much called the Pshat, but I think we have to mention it. He's the one who says there's Ba'amah. So therefore he also says the earth, nevertheless, the Adamah is not really like Afar. Afar is dust. Dusty earth. Eva is even ashes, but Adamah is something else. Adamah is generally used, and Fish also takes the sense, with different Adamah and Eretz. Adamah is used for the earth, which can be used by human beings for a positive purpose of producing beautiful gardens, a lot of valuable crops, beautiful trees and flowers, all can be produced through the earth. The earth has a power of producing growth. And the essence of the human being is, he doesn't stand still, he can grow. And he can grow into things. When he is born, then like I said, the baby can't do a thing. But if it's cultivated, like the earth also, you leave the earth, you don't cultivate it, it'll produce weeds. If you cultivate it, it produces the most beautiful gardens, flowers and fruits. Similarly also the human being, that if it's cultivated from childhood, is an environment of enormous love of the parents. And the parents do everything possible the child should grow. And should grow in the right direction. And so they give it whatever the child needs, then can reach the highest level. And the person can keep on growing and growing, physically, and even more so, even when physically it becomes more or less stabilized, still certain aspects of physical growth, but at a certain stage they don't grow stronger, they grow weaker, but the emotional, the spiritual, and the moral aspect of the human being can keep on growing. It's the highest possible level, to become very close to Hashem. So that is the choice that's given to us, in contrast to the animal world. In other words, Adamah tells us the essence of the human being is to grow. So even though we are born and in early childhood we are governed primarily by material needs, but those material needs, if they're given the right direction, then reach the highest level. It is education that forms the common mind. The way the twig is bent, the tree is inclined. Yeah. English poets have expressed so many good ideas mentioned already in the Tanakh in nice English. But in any case, this is the choice that we're faced with. And this verse therefore goes to the depth. And now I'll continue with the next Rashi. You'll see this concept we fitted in with Rashi. Nasi Adam, Rashi says, even though the other powers in the world did not really help in creating man, and also by saying a plural, we will make man, it gives the people who believe in a trinity, in dualism or in polytheism, they'll say, well, here you have polytheism, we. The verse does not stop itself from teaching us derech eretz umidat anava. In other words, the Torah is geared to teach human beings the most important science that exists. This Rosh is a very deep one. You go, all the university colleges, they all have a department for every branch of human knowledge. And even they've got a certain branch of human knowledge called ethics, which is taught in many universities, but it's not taught as a science of how to live. It's taught primarily, you'll see, to teach us different ideas produced by philosophers. Moral philosophy. Moral philosophy is geared to try to see what have human beings said about human behavior, how we're supposed to behave. It doesn't give you real direction. In fact, a person who's going to study moral philosophy at university in ethics, he'll generally speaking come up more confused than when he went in. Why? Because there's so many different views. Some will say that there's no such thing as good and evil. There's only thinking makes it so. And they'll tell you the idea that such a thing is right and wrong has no basis in reality. As anyone who studied philosophy has found out. Because you're very interested to find out morality. How can human beings become better? Go to university, they won't teach. Even the ethics philosopher will sometimes get very angry at students, as is witnessed by many people. And that's always said by Shakespeare. There never was a philosopher who didn't suffer from toothache and get angry. However much he may have written about divine causality, for no reason to get angry about if you believe that a human being on determinism. So, yes, they can get, there are plenty of great moral philosophers who committed the most immoral acts you can imagine. As one great philosopher said from the Greek times, when I am, perhaps I should mention that, I'm Socrates when I give my talks and my dialogues with my groups and my students. But what I do privately has got nothing to do with it. Privately could do very perverse things. So, but where do you find it? In Torah learning. That's Torah learning. That's what Rashi says here. Or a person might say, okay, you interpret this to mean polytheism. The verse of Hashem, he says, I'm out to teach you derech eretz. And midot tovot. Or midot anava. That the person who's great should always consult with those who are not as great as he is. And then they'll tell Reshut min hakatan. I'll ask the one who's lower than me what's his opinion. And that's, let's say in a Sanhedrin, when you have a debate about something, the first spokesman is the one who's got the lowest level of knowledge and experience. Let him speak first. Because he's got to speak unbiased. And if he's already heard what the great ones will say, well, he won't want to say something different. No, let him say his view. He's the smallest one. Yakoto. And if it would have said, Ese Adam, I'm making man, we wouldn't be able to learn that he was speaking with his bed, and then you ask who he was speaking to. Yeah? So he would say, well, he's speaking to himself. God is speaking to himself, says Ese Adam. Otherwise, the word speak, by the way, in Bereshit, does not mean speech like we know it. It just expresses the thought of Hashem, like we said yesterday, produces the action. Like, yes, and tshuva tamidim, but if you want to know how to answer those who will prove from the Bible that the Trinity is the truth, yeah, or they prove it. They say God speaks in the plural, it's Trinity. Or might even give you more gods, or dualism. So it says, when in the next verse it says, Vayivra Elokim et ha'am b'tzalmo. No, God did it. It says, it emphasizes, He was the one who created. And of course there's a deeper aspect as well. What other difference do you find between verse 26 and verse 27? The way in which the creation is described by God. What difference there, apart from the fact that we've been emphasizing, verse 26 is in the plural, and verse 27 goes back to the singular. What else is different? What's different? The basic difference.
26 and 23.
Well, what is it? Very simple. What key word is used in verse 27 and even repeated?
Let us make. The others is let the waters.
Now, we're talking about creation of man.
In our image.
Huh?
Our image.
That's, yes.
That's the plurality that you were talking about.
Yes.
After our likeness.
What's the difference in the word used for creating man in verse 26 and the one used in verse 27?
Oh, it's our, and then it goes into or. It goes from
That
plurality
we've
to
been talking
singularity.
about the last 20 minutes, but what is another difference? Apart from the fact that 26 is the plural and 27 is the singular. 26 implies dualism or Trinity or polytheism, and verse 27 emphasizes monotheism. I mean, that's the symbol that we're talking about that all the time. But there's another difference. That's why you have to learn Tanakh in the Hebrew. In English, you don't recognize the difference so easily. No, come on, just read it out aloud to yourselves. What's the difference?
In his own image.
Say it in Hebrew.
Okay.
With which verb is the creation of man described? Just take an extra coffee in the morning before you come to the shiur. Take an extra coffee. Or take a few stretches, exercise.
ויברא אלוהים את האדם בצלמו בצלם.
Yeah, we read the verse, yeah, but what you tell me, what's the key difference?
Betzalmo,
Past tense.
If you look through the whole of the first chapter of Bereshit, yeah, there are different verbs used for creation. And we spoke about this yesterday. Which is the key word for creation?
Passive. The one's passive and the one's
Not the form, but the actual word. What's the difference?
created.
One's one is plural and the other one is singular.
Because make
In our image and then in his own image.
One is, look, Bereshit, what does it say? Bara Elokim. Doesn't say Asa Elokim. Doesn't say Yatzad. The three key verbs, the few verbs used, the three key ones are Bara, Yatzad, Asa. Three words. The key words for creation. What's the difference between them? And comes out in the key, Asher Bara Elokim Lasot. The key word in the whole of the chapter Bereshit is that this world we know, including the world, was a product of the action of Hashem described as Bariya, Yitzira, Asiya. Bara, Yatzar, Asa. Go through the passage and you see. It said God created. What's the difference between created and making? Or formed? What's the difference? In English they use
Created from nothing.
yeah, in English language and nearly all languages, there are many words which are used and they can interchange. It doesn't matter which word used, it means more or less the same. A person made something, a person formed something, or created something, means more or less the same. In the Hebrew of the Tanakh, there's no such thing. Every word has a specific meaning. Once you understand the meaning more deeply, then you understand the verses more deeply. Bara means to create something entirely new. You see it all the way along. Yatsa means to create the form of something. You've got the raw materials, and they use the raw materials to form them into something. Called Yitzira. Today, human beings are not capable of Bria. Bria means to create something ab initio, like they described it as singularity. Came as well, out of them came the singularity. Well, who produced it? The singularity means the initial Bria, creation from nothing, as far as human knowledge of the world which is material is concerned. There's no such thing as human being producing the initial energies from nothing at all. Who can do that? Only a God can do that. From his mind, which is pure and spiritual, he produces the first energy, which is also an abstract type of force, which humans can't produce. But human beings can use those forces. They can even use the nuclear force and the atomic force, and the electromagnetic force, the permutation. They can use it even to produce big bombs, and even to produce fantastic ability of energy, which can be used to produce fire, to produce engines. So once you've got the Yetzira, Yesh Me'ayin, human beings have the power of Yetzira. They can make forms. And the artist can take a huge bit of clay, and on this clay he can produce a beautiful sculpture, take paints and canvas, raw materials, and he produces Yetzira, something which you can see, an object of beauty. And then, that's the power of Yetzira. Nasiya is constantly used for completion. Likewise, Esav comes from the root Asai. Why? When he is born, it's only a fully grown hair and so on, fully grown in certain ways. So something was completed. So that's the concept of Asiya. So it says, Nase Adam. I want the other forces which I've created to help in the formation of man, as applies to his body. But when it comes to his soul, the soul is a Bria. The soul put into man is not dependent on any of the other forces, any of the Malachim. Malachim cannot produce a neshama. The neshama is produced by Hashem himself. That's the difference between verse 26 and 27. Okay, stop here. Yeah, we'll have the questions you have to have at the beginning of tomorrow's show.
Okay.
I've got a question for you.
Huh?
I've got a question for